And we are the podcast, of course. We bring you our personal journey, my personal journey, Terry's support in trying to get healthy. As I've been aging, I think the wellness factor is, it's finally a realization I know I need to deal with. So we don't want to outlive our wellness. I don't want to be a burden to anybody for certain. So we are going through, some changes in our diet, trying to exercise more, be more active, and just be more mindful and thoughtful about what we're doing. We know that we're not alone. So that's the main reason we started this podcast. So not only do we talk about our journey, but we also have guests and professionals from time to time. Today is no different. Terry, I'll let you introduce Dawna.
All right. Dawna Campbell is a professional speaker, international healer, and bestseller author. She teaches, trains, and mentors heart-centered business owners how to align your inner balance to gain infinite prosperity in all areas of your life. As a former financial advisor, Dawna's book, Financially Fit, is a #1 Amazon International bestseller, bringing together the world of money and the energy world of the soul's essence. She is also a contributing author to other best-selling books, including One Habit to Have in a Post-COVID World and Cracking the Rich Code with Tony Robbins and Jim Britt. Dawna shares her techniques that she has learned all around the world from yogic healers, Zen Buddhist monks, and a medicine woman while maintaining a private practice. This has earned Dawna the title of the Mind Whisperer for creating instantaneous results in the areas of health, wellness, and relationships. Dawna has over 25 years of experience and has shared the stage with notables such as Lisa Nichols, Dr. Joe Vitale, Sharon Lechter, and Kevin Harrington. She has been featured on Roku TV, Yahoo Finance, Fox News, NBC, and the Los Angeles Tribune. Her personal heart-centered healing philosophy is to create a world that is a better place for everyone. Dawna, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you today.
Yeah. Well, I am so excited to talk about this. I mean, I don't even know where to start because I have so many questions. Energy healing and financial advising. Oh, I like that meshing of those worlds.
Yes. Yes. And as a former financial advisor, we would look at clients' portfolios and talk about net worth and how much their assets appreciated and the value and if they had enough for their goals. And as I transitioned into the world of healing after my own journey, clients I realized were saying the exact same thing. I want to know that I felt worthy, that I'm enough, that I was valued and appreciated when I was little. And then one day, a couple of years ago, it clicked that it's the same words we're using. So it has the same vibrational frequency behind it. So if you didn't feel like you are enough on the inside, you didn't have enough on the outside financially. And money by itself is just energy. And it doesn't do anything until you apply energy to it. And the energy that gets applied is how you feel about yourself on the inside. So when I started working with clients, whether it was in the area of health, for what was going on with them physically, or if it was in a relationship, whether it was marriage or family, or even in the areas of wealth, whatever we shifted and changed, every single time their finances started improving because we were changing the root of how they felt. So everything in their life became better.
Wow.
Interesting.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, some of our guests that we've had functional medicine physicians. I mean, it's all about going back to the root of everything.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So what would be some of the main, some of the main areas that you see as that root? And the reason I ask is because, I have trouble staying on a good balanced eating plan. And so, I've at points in time, I've tried to think back, of any trauma or something that was undealt with or,
Right.
The negative energy. I feel like for the most part, until I have a podcast equipment malfunction. I'm usually pretty positive. I have to admit that I have thrown a shoe every now and then, for stuff. But, so I think about me personally, and I don't mind using myself as an excuse or as the subject because, I want to try to find the root of this poor eating or,
Right.
just kind of falling off because like we'll do good for 2, 3 days. We've done good for months at a time, but it is like, the minute something goes wrong, it's like everything goes wrong and it's just you're not back on track. So, or for me anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So the way the subconscious works is that from the moment you were conceived till the day you exit this earth, it records every moment. So it records all of the events and it records how you feel moment by moment to those events and puts those feelings and emotions to the event. And then from that, it starts giving you a template to create a reality from because it's like the coding or the system and it becomes automated.
Yeah.
Now, when we understand and take a look at what is at the root of it, what we want to do is see how you feel in this moment when things go wrong. And then all at once you're eating more food and you did great for like 3 months, but now it's like this because there's an energy there, which is an emotion or a feeling. So we start there in the consciousness. And then we find going back by asking questions where it first started in the subconscious, where that energy was, and where it got locked in your body. Now, it may not be a traumatic event, and it may not even be an event that's associated to what you are doing because we're following the feeling and the emotion to unlock it out of the body to stop causing harm. And then we invite in the emotion and feelings that we want to have health, goodness, kindness. It might be prosperity. It might just be feeling better. It might just be happiness. And we invite those energies in to take the place of what we're taking out. And it's my job, is why I'm called a mind whisperer, is to help you find what was hidden to you and change that frequency so the subconscious creates a new pattern moving forward.
Interesting. Okay. And you said that sometimes it's not a traumatic event. It's just
Right.
is it still tied to an event or is it just kind of like maybe changes in life or something? Not
Just
not
the
like
same.
physical changes, but like as you progress through age, things just change.
The same feeling goes with.
Right. So, say somebody was working on their finances and they wanted to know and understand why they weren't getting more. They were wanting to create more, but it just didn't happen.
Right.
And I'll use myself as an example. And I remember when I was sitting there going, okay, I need to go from this level in my business to this next level, but I'm not getting it. I'm not there. How come? How does this feel? Well, I'm frustrated, of course.
Right.
Well, where do I feel the frustration at in my body? And I felt it kind of in my heart, but also in my stomach. And when I traced it back, I went, when did I feel that before? And I instantly recalled the time that I was shopping at the store with my mom. I asked for an item and I got told no, and all the reasons why we couldn't afford this, $2 item. And I was made to feel less than and not worthy in that moment because I asked for something and that
Interesting.
was wrong to ask for it. So my subconscious brain associated feeling less than in that moment that was unrelated and created that pattern that I couldn't ask for something that I wanted because I was always less than and I was made to feel ashamed for it.
Interesting.
And when I changed that, I changed it to, well, I want to have happiness. So I wanted to experience that happiness. And what I discovered was I was worthy whether I had the item on the outside or not, and that I was always enough, and that something on the outside didn't validate me
Yeah.
for who I was. And when that changed, the next level in business came because we changed the frequency on the subconscious side. So the event still happened. How I felt about the event was completely different. And that changed everything else in my world.
Wow. I felt that. I felt that feeling that you were talking about. I mean, just
Yes.
with being told no and the reasons why. And I mean, I have felt that, and I can't even put my finger on it.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
bizarre. I've never had it explained so well, because I'm like on a quest to find out about energy and what's going on with me and different things like and Roy as well, just different things as far as like the eating habits as what and just being healthy altogether, because he says I'm his support, but he's my support as well. It's not it's about me being healthy also. We both want it.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, one of the biggest places where most of the locked energy is at is in the stomach and in
Yes.
the gut.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that when you were conceived, you were connected to your mom by an umbilical cord. So she fed you nutritionally in that. So that was the start of our eating patterns. But she also fed you emotionally with every thought, feeling, and emotion she had that also went straight into your stomach. So that's why it's called the second brain, because you were fed all of those things energetically, and that went into your cells as your cells multiplied to create you. And then you were connected by your father through DNA. So whatever he went through, that portion of the DNA that you have of his, also the same thing. So that's where the whole eating pattern really does start, was when we're being formed in the womb. So some of the work, we get to go back to that time, not necessarily if you know things about what happened when your mom was pregnant with you, that's great, but how things might have felt and how we can clear out some of that energy that's not yours, that started your pattern when you were first born.
And it's funny that you say that. We've learned a lot about the stomach, that it a lot of, I guess it's a lot of things start there. A lot of the with the stress has the effect on it. But so like when I'm eating good and but my my triggers tend to be late at night. But it's funny because like, okay, before we go to bed, I'll feel hungry and I want something. I just want it. I don't need it. But I get this empty feeling kind of in my stomach and in my chest. And it's weird because we've talked about this. Like, it's almost like that I have to be full to feel, I guess, that safe
Sleepy.
and comfort or whatever, where you can go lay down and sleep. I don't know how any of that's related, but sounds like there may be something to that same, to that feeling that I get relating back to this.
So what we would do is explore that feeling of emptiness and then identify when it really first started and what was going on in your life around that. And whatever those events are, we would take a look at that, and then we would find out what it was that you needed, because we can put in what was needed at that time to release the emptiness. And if it was empty, you need to be filled with something.
Right.
So we can do that because physics says there's no time or space. So when we make those changes, then you go to bed feeling full, satisfied, whole, and complete without the emptiness.
Yeah.
You're not craving the food.
Wow.
Yeah. That's awesome. And yeah, I probably need to take
Let's
some time
do
to
it.
explain.
Come on, let's do it.
Oh my gosh. So let's just talk about energies in themselves. We have talked some about it. We've I think Terry actually had talked to someone. I guess it was her. Did your sister recommend or something to do
Yeah.
with the energies? But it's an interesting concept, because the older I get, the more I feel like the universe is. It does have an effect on us and the energies that we put out. Sometimes we receive that back. It's the energy of we get to make the decision if this is going to be a failed day or not. Typically, if we believe it is, then it will come true. So can you talk a little bit about all of those energies and how they kind of relate?
Yes. How we feel creates the next moment and the next moment and the next moment after that. So if you're in the energy of stress or worry or anger, then you're going to keep repeating those moments. And if you're eating at that time of stress, worry, anger,
Yeah.
etc., those are the emotional components you're feeding yourself. And then it's going to break down your entire digestive system. I know this because I got to experience it firsthand for myself for over 2 years. And I can talk about that.
Wow.
But if we're in the state of the happiness, the joy, the peace, the balance, then what happens is our body is more relaxed, it becomes healthier. And if we're eating in that state, we're able to properly digest our food instead of on the run in the car, driving around in that
Right,
frenzied
right.
state. And how you get up in the morning is probably one of the most important things that you can do.
Let me get a clean piece of
Uh-oh.
paper here.
So
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
the very first thoughts you have when you wake up are incredibly important. Now, I'm one that likes to stay in bed as long as possible before I get up and run around and get ready for the day. But I always make sure I have plenty of time. But I used to get up out of the bed going, oh gosh, I'm so tired and I just want to stay in bed and I want to sleep. And I changed my mindset doing some of the work that I do. But I learned about a week and a half ago that March 31st in Japan, numerology, is like the luckiest day of the year. Now, when I found out on March 30th. So I went, well, tomorrow's March 31st. It's going to be the luckiest day of the year. So I got up on March 31st going, it's the luckiest day of the year. I need to celebrate something. So I started celebrating all of my small little wins, self-validation,
Yeah.
and all of that. And I had a really great day. And I went, oh, that worked really well. It's April 1st. It's the luckiest day ever. So now every morning since then, I wake up and I start thinking, oh, it is the luckiest day ever. What am I going to celebrate? How am I going to celebrate? And what happens is immediately my mood is lifted up. I am instantly happy. I get up, I go on about my day, and then I'm like early to everything. And then all of these amazing things fall into place. What happened to my diet by doing this? Guess who's now drinking wheatgrass juice, who does a pumpkin seed protein mix, and started eating salad at lunch.
Oh, wow.
Never
Nice.
would I ever do that because I have a hard time digesting salad after my own digestion issues. But now I've been eating salad every day and I'm like, this is starting to work just
Wow.
by thinking that it's the luckiest day ever.
Yeah. Seeing I wake up and my day starts with, can somebody get this dog off of me?
I have cats. They just move out of the way.
Okay. Yeah. We got an 80-pound foot pillow down there that, you like pinned in,
Yeah.
can't even get up. No,
Can't
and
move.
that's interesting because, we've talked a lot on this show too about that mindset and that it's, and I give my priest as much credit for this as possible because he told me once that our minds are like grinders and we get to choose what we grind. If we're grinding negative stuff all day, it's just going to continue, where if we grind positive stuff, it will just continue to multiply. And the other thing I think too, it's not only because things are going to happen to us outside of our control, but I think it's related to how we handle it. If I'm already having a spell and something new comes on top of you, it's like, you're just to your breaking point. Whereas, like dogs barking in the
In
background.
the middle of a podcast, David.
But whereas, if things are going good and you're happy in that mindset, it just seems like you're able to handle things a little bit better.
And mindset is only a part of it because that's the 10% we are consciously aware of. The other 90% is hidden in the subconscious and is continually playing, kind of like background noise, but we don't hear it. We don't know.
Yeah.
But it's out there, and it is. Other people might pick up on it, but we ourselves don't hear it. And we're like a radio tower. It's always being broadcasted out. So we don't always
Interesting.
know all of that we're sending out. It's kind of like when you're getting ready to go to like a sales meeting and you're walking down the hallway and you know if it's going to be a really good sales meeting and everyone's going to be congratulated or nobody made their sales numbers and you're kind of all in trouble. You feel that long before you start walking down the hallway to the meeting.
All right.
Well, that's exactly how it works in our energy field. And what you're feeling is all the subconscious thoughts, energies, and emotions leaving the person's body. And so mindset, yes, to be consciously aware of how we're going to start our day, but there's that 90%, that's that tape loop that's always playing in the background.
Interesting. So
Wow.
if we're always putting that out, let's talk for a minute about the old saying. It's we are the average of the 5 people that we surround ourselves. Do we soak
Yes.
up that negative or positive energy from somebody that we are around in that subconscious?
Because what happens is you are in a shared energy field with them. And if you hang out with 5 people and they are not of the same mindset as you, or there's always a lot of anger or chaos or drama around it, you start absorbing that. That goes into your energy field. And then pretty soon you have anger, drama, and chaos in your life. And you're like, how did I get here? And if you were around 5 people that were a different vibrational frequency, a different mindset, a different feeling, then that's going to raise you and elevate you as well. And one of the Buddhist monks, actually, I think it was one of the Dalai Lamas, said the very most important thing that you can do is to be mindful of the company that you keep. And that's
Okay.
why when we have friends, we vibrate here, and then pretty soon some leave and the new ones come in, but they feel different than the old ones. And then you are no longer talking to the old friends because you're talking to the new friends. And it's just because of how energy attracts vibrationally through the law of magnetism.
Wow. Okay.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, no, it is. I mean, and you just feel better, and you can tell those people
Yeah.
that we call them, the energy suckers, but it's like you can be all pumped up, and then there's people you can get around, and when you leave, you just feel like a wilted flower, like they just sucked all the
Suck
life
the
out
life
of you.
out of you.
Just have nothing
Yeah.
left.
You're depleted. You have to go to sleep for the next 4 hours. Yes.
So
Yes.
how does some things that we always talk about too is our exercise patterns, our sleep patterns. How does all of that play into this as well?
It does, because how you digest your food will affect your sleep patterns.
Okay.
Now, in order for us to sleep, we have to have the proper mix of melatonin, which is produced in the pineal gland in our brain. In order to have the right melatonin, we have to have the right amount of serotonin to produce the right amount of melatonin. So this is just a continual cycle. Most of the serotonin is produced in the digestive system. So if you are not eating the correct foods to produce serotonin, you're going to get depleted. And every time we use our electronics, whether it's our phone, video games, Zoom, all of it, we get a little surge of serotonin flashing through our brain. And if it doesn't replace through the digestive tract and what we are eating, then we become depleted. If we get too depleted in serotonin, we become depressed. But if you have the right mix of serotonin, then melatonin is properly synthesized and you have a balanced sleeping pattern. So if sleeping is out of balance, or you can't sleep, or you're constantly waking up, it could be your diet.
Well, we've.
right.
I don't think it's too early in the process to say that we've been thinking about the cutting down on our meat protein, and we have kind of been looking. I guess the last week or so, we've been doing pretty much plant based, and because and we've been doing the intermittent fasting for this reason. We've been, again, told a lot of times that our body spends about 80% of its energy digesting our food. So if we eat all day long, it's constantly doing that. And I was just telling Terry this morning that I just wake up feeling so much better And the
Hmm.
other thing we're doing, we're quitting eating, like at 6 or 7. So I don't get to
Yeah.
have my 10 o'clock, Taco Bell snack or pizza or whatever, whatever we can find laying around. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. But the other odd thing is, I have an arm that I have some inflammation in some of the tendons. And I said, eating good, the inflammation, it's like it just disappeared overnight. I mean, like magic.
Like 2 days, or I don't
It
Yeah.
even.
does. Yes. Because the diet plays such an important role and we don't think about it.
Yeah.
By eating more of a plant-based diet, you're eating food that is created by light. And light energy is what we need in our body for our soul, for our spirits.
Interesting.
You can still eat meat, be mindful about the meat. And I say that because it also depends on your blood type, which I learned.
Oh,
When I lived in the ashram, which is a spiritual living community, it was vegetarian and and actually almost 100% vegan by the time I was there. And I was a particular blood type. I'm O positive. So about 6 months of being completely vegetarian, I started craving red meat. And I didn't know why. And I thought it was because of the iron content. But I found out that there's an amino acid in red meat that O positive or O blood type people needed. And that it wasn't wrong for me to eat meat if I was craving it because
Yeah.
it said my body needed something from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So occasionally I would eat meat. I remember asking energetically once what was the best diet for me. And I heard fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, sometimes meat. So I went to go do that. I thought I was going to starve because what was not on there was dairy or anything with
Right.
grain.
Right. Well,
But it's a slow process and to do it and
yeah.
moderation, including moderation.
Yeah, and that's kind of the plan we've adopted is it's not, we don't have any conviction against meat or anything that we're saying never ever again, but I think it's more of that controlled and,
Yeah.
maybe trying to have a nice piece of fish if you just really crave something. But
and trying to cut things out, I mean, just trying to clean our refrigerator out from all the dairy and the meats and I mean, all of that stuff. There's so much. So we made the decision and then, spent most of our time trying to clean out the fridge. But I think we're there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
oh, no, no, no. I was just going to say the other part of that is the dairy, and so how dairy relates. We had a guest on, and the episode hasn't aired yet, but when I started researching some of his work, it was very interesting to find that mammals are the only, our humans are the only mammal to drink another mammal's milk. And,
Exactly.
they said
Never
that,
thought about it like that.
yeah, but they said they said really, to be honest, if you aren't lactose intolerant, you're probably the exception, not the rule. That we should all, after some form of infancy, we should all get that way. So, I guess how does that affect our energies?
With a dairy, depending on the type of dairy, dairy does cause inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
And now our milk today is so different than what it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And how it's processed in children is even different. They're doing things now, not only with the additives and the hormones, but they're adding sugar to milk to sweeten it to have children and other people drink it because it tastes sweeter.
Yeah.
That sugar causes inflammation and they're adding it in there. So we don't always know what's in the milk or the products. There's food coloring in cheese. Cheese is not naturally orange. The food coloring has heavy metals in it that's needed, which is the binding agent to make the food coloring stick, like aluminum. So you don't know that that's in the food coloring,
Right.
that's in the cheese that we're consuming. And so all of these things will put those toxins into the body. And if you really want to make a big change to your diet, the number one thing that you can do is to take out food coloring. And if you look at everything that has food coloring in it, you will have a very clean diet. Every cracker, every processed food has
Yeah.
some form of food coloring in it. And cheese has food coloring in it if it's not white. And there are some brands that have a natural food coloring called a nano, and that's okay. It's a natural coloring, kind of like what henna would be, but for food. But it's not the other food coloring that we would have in like American cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the
So you
hardest thing to
have
get.
food.
I'm sorry. Oh, I didn't mean to talk over you. No, I was just going to say that was probably one of the hardest things for us to do was to actually take some leftover cheese and put it in the trash because, I mean
We're
that's
cheese.
my we're cheese people. That's my go-to snack. There's not a meal that we
Uh-huh.
don't have that doesn't have cheese all on it. But also, I think not only for the dairy qualities, but tends to what we found be all very high in salt, which
Mhm.
But I will say that is my favorite thing. My favorite tomato paste, tomato sauce is you can taste it when they have put a lot of sugar in it. 'Cause it
Oh,
tastes
they
like-
do. Ketchup, all
Ketchup
that.
has a lot of sugar in it too.
So, what are some recommendations that I know that if somebody's got a problem, they really need to sit down and have a session with you, so you can kind of work
Uh-huh.
back and find this, where their energies may be affecting them, but or the subconscious may be affecting their energies. But what are some things that we can do? Maybe just top of mind, 3 or 4 things that we can try to start practicing every day that should really help us, not only in the health and wellness, but our overall life.
A couple of things. The first thing that you can do is when you are eating, make sure you're eating out of happiness and joy
Okay.
and not out of stress or worry. And if you're going to feel or be rushed while you're eating, it might be better not to eat
Interesting.
or do some protein drinks to be able to do that for less amount of time instead of eating. When you are eating, put down the fork in between bites and don't be on your electronics at the same time.
Okay.
Yes, we have a
Have
trouble
those
with that.
away and just sit and eat, because when the body's in that state, you're going to digest your food a little bit more properly. So there's some things like that that you can do automatically. One of the things I love doing is a breathing exercise. Now, I don't do this when I'm eating, but it helps shift the energy inside. So when you do feel depressed or anxious or worried or in those stressful states, what we want to do is release that out of the body. Now, when we breathe out CO2, which is carbon dioxide, which is all of the toxins our body no longer needs. And when we breathe in, we're breathing in oxygen and all the things our body does need. So what we do in this breathing exercise is you breathe in, but you're going to breathe in happiness or joy. It might be calmness and stillness. It could be serenity, kindness. And you're going to breathe out the stress, the worry, the anxiety, the depression. And I do this. I set the timer on my phone for about 2 or 3 minutes, and I close my eyes. I breathe in happiness. I breathe out bitterness. And I will sit there and do that over and over with the same words. And then the next day or the next time I do it, I might choose different words, whatever it is that I'm feeling. And that's going to change your body physiologically. And when that happens, it's going to put you in a calmer state. You'll become more focused. You'll have a lot more clarity, and you might not be hungry. And if you think you're hungry or you need to fill yourself up with something, drink a glass of water, especially if you're angry or you're getting frustrated. Drink a glass of water. You could just be dehydrated, and that water will flush through the body, making those shifts and changes as well, just like the breathing will do.
Yeah.
And it'll go back into that calmer state, and then you can take a look at what's going on.
Yeah. And talking about the breathing, that's something that I've really recognized about myself is holding breath in stress. Not necessarily, and it doesn't have to be like a bad stress. It could just be intense. I've noticed it like when I really get into a spreadsheet and things are rolling and doing this, it's like, I have to actually say, take a breath. I used to have a sign over my desk that said breathe, and people would laugh and say, hey, you have to remind yourself to breathe. And I'd be like, yeah, sometimes that, but even when I'm breathing, I think I'm a very shallow breather. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. We need to really take in those big, deep breaths to help our body. And, if you look at yoga and some other things that, we can control a lot of different things with that breathing, I think, and that's why they really work on not only the body movements, but that breathing technique as well.
Absolutely. And the thing to also remember is that even if you stop breathing out of stress, your skin is still breathing. But because you have so much stress running through the body, when that air comes in through the skin, it will have more of a stressful state to it, even if you're holding your breath, versus being in the calmer, more relaxed state. And if you stop breathing, like in meditation, which does happen sometimes for people, the air that's coming in comes in through peace and balance and stillness instead of stress that way. So it also depends on that emotional state to how the air comes into you.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with us. And, I think that you've mentioned a few things, but one of our closing questions is always, what's something, the one practice you feel adds the most value to your day? It could be an app, a habit, just anything that really, that you use quite often.
That I take a 2-minute break doing one of those little mindful exercises every 3 hours. Okay. So when I have a break in between things, I stop, I leave the room, and I go sit and do something just to readjust and recenter myself. Doing like the breathing exercise. Sometimes I just focus visually on something, because every time you do that, it clears the mind, allows you to have more focus, and gives you more clarity. And then when you come back and you start working again, your work gets just done, and it's completed, and you're in a better elevated mood, and the stress and the frustration, even just sitting in a chair for a period of time, leaves the body. And that would be my number one go-to, and I do that throughout the day about every 3 hours.
Okay, awesome.
That's
good.
Really good advice. I was going to ask you about, so you're available for sessions online. Can
Yes.
you tell us what you offer on your website?
Yep, absolutely. If you go to DawnaCampbell.com, and that's DAWNA Campbell.com, there's a section on there that says sessions. And when you pull that up, I do offer a complimentary 15-30-minute type session connection reading with me if you want to know more information or how the process might work for you. And then from there, we would determine what type of session or session packages you might need based on the complexity of what it is that you're working on and what you want to shift and change. And then from there, we just schedule. And if we do packages, you have priority scheduling. So I personally schedule you on my calendar, and we work through step by step sequentially over however many weeks. Each session averages about an hour.
All right. That's awesome. Well, y'all reach out to Dawna, and you have such an impressive list that we're going to get you to recite. I know that you've got your book, your book sitting next to you there, and then
see the look on her face.
And then I know that you've written some chapters for some other books. And anyway, you've got a lot going on. So tell us all about where we can find some of your writings at.
Okay, so some of them are on my website at DawnaCampbell.com. But if you go to social media, most everything is posted on my business Facebook page. So that's Dawna Campbell 811. You can also find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And everything gets cross-posted there as well. So anything that I have recorded, anything that is there, it's any show that I have been on, it's all in those feeds.
Okay.
And Financially Fit is your book that you've got on the...
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, Dawna, we appreciate all the great information. Y'all reach out. see if she can help you with your subconscious and your energies. I know, we feel better just talking to you for this
I
little
know.
bit, little amount. I know.
I've been breathing a little deeper.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Feeding Fatty. Of course, I am Roy.
I'm Terry.
You can find us at www.feedingfatty.com. We are also on all the major social media platforms, and a video of this interview will go up on YouTube when the episode goes live. So be sure and check that out. If we're also on all the major podcast platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Google, Spotify. If we're not on one that you use, please reach out. We'd be glad to get that added. So until next time, take care of yourself.